Hello. Now, what you just saw there was the blown beetle. Now you're probably wondering, why do I call it the blown beetle? And for that reason, I shall show you, because there's no way of explaining it. You just have to see it. Now the reason I call it the blown beetle is, well, I'm gonna have to pop the hood and show you, because I can't really explain it to you. You kind of have to see it to know why I call it the blown beetle. And the reason why I call it the blown beetle is because a couple months ago I made a little oopsie with this freaking car, and it was not a good oopsie. It was that's all right. Now, if we rewind about 2 or 3 months ago, I blew up this car. It's a manual, 5-speed manual. I'm a 15-year-old teenager driving it. Those things do not really mix well. And I think y'all can figure out what I was doing and stuff like that, because it was not very good at all. And I was just driving down the road normally, and you know, things happen. It happens, man. Now, there are other existing problems with this car before I even blew it up. And the one main problem was the thermostat in the actual engine. That's the thermostat that lets like moderate all the coolant so it like doesn't eat it all up at first. Well, mine was doing the exact opposite of that. I'd be driving down the road, you know, normally and stuff like this, you know, just driving and stuff. Not even 10 minutes after driving, I'd need to fill it back up with coolant. Now, at first, I thought it was a leak, so I went up in the engine, checked with all the leaks and stuff. There was no leaks. And then I had this all puzzled and stuff, so then I did my research. I did all my research and stuff, and then I finally figured out that it's the thermostat. My thermostat is rusted shut, or just stuck, or something. All I know is that I need a new thermostat, because that thermostat that I have in it now is just letting all the coolant go in and in and in and in, and just using it all up, and it's just wasting it, because it's not using it wisely as it should. And that's a big problem, and that's one of the main reasons that I didn't like think before, and that's one of the main reasons that I blew it up. And it's just a problem. So we're gonna fix it here soon, and if we don't, then, which we probably will, but if we don't, this car's going to the scrapper. And I know a lot of my friends are gonna be okay with that, but it's not going to anytime soon. Now back here, I have all my parts. So if you just, you know, if you don't have like a bottom intake manifold just laying on your back seat of your car, don't talk to me, you know? Like, you want a windshield wiper fluid reservoir? I got you, don't worry. You want a top intake manifold? I got you too, don't worry. I have, oh yeah. You know, you want fuel injectors or a torn timing belt? Don't you worry your pretty little butt. I got you. I got you, homie. Don't you worry. I have so much shit back here, it's not even funny. It's like all of the car parts that I took out of this freaking car, I just didn't have anywhere to put them, so I just threw them in the back seat. Because I'm cool like that, you know? If you don't do that, then I don't know who you are, you know? But that was so much work just to get all that stuff off. It's crazy, because I don't think people understand the amount of work that I put into this car. And I just tell people that, and they don't believe me until they actually come here or help me or see it. Like, it's a pain in the freaking ass to work on this freaking car. Number one, because it's German, and they like to make everything so much difficult. And number two, I have not used a wrench once on this freaking car. It's all star bits or, like, just Torx heads and stuff like that. It's crazy, the amount of Torx heads and stuff. Getting that bumper off was probably the hardest thing in this entire freaking project. Now, I don't have the bumper out, but I have it off, and it's sitting down in my shed. But I do have the skid plate out there, and I have a whole bunch of fender parts and stuff. I have, these were up under the fender too. They're like splash guards almost for the rear. But I had to take them off just to get the bumper off, and it's crazy the amount of work that I have to do just to do that. You know what I mean? So just whenever you say something like that, just don't take the time to consider someone else's point of view and the amount of work they put into something. Because after this video, if I don't sell my truck, which we're going to give a story time about my truck then later in another video and stuff. But if I don't sell it, I'm going to explain to you what happened to that one. Because there are some really ignorant people, and they know who they are, and we figured it all out. But that's all I'm going to say. But just take the time to consider about and see someone else's point of view and walk in their shoes before you say something. Because it could really get to someone. And the amount of people that say, give me hate stuff and stuff like that, oh, don't make videos, your videos are so cringy and stuff like that on TikTok, not even on this platform. I'm not going to stop. This makes me happy. This gives me something to do. It makes me feel good. And I'm not going to stop doing that if it makes me feel good and stuff like that. So keep the hate comments coming and stuff like that. Keep them, just keep all those comments coming. It's not going to affect me at all. Because I'm a person who really does not give two freaking shits about what you have to feel about me if it's negative. Now, if you have positive stuff to say about me, fine. I'm down for it. I'm a pretty chill guy, but keep the hate comments away. I don't really care. They're not going to get to me at all. But now I'm done with that little rant, and you can see I did some painting. Did some painting on the top bolts here that hold on the fender and the actual engine bay and stuff like that. I have lights sitting in here for whenever it's dark. I might show those whenever I'm dark. As you can see, everyone loves the freaking tongue. I have a tongue on it. I got bored. I painted the tow hook. The tongue's painted. I added those little things on the headlights. I don't even know what I did that for. I painted the calipers. This trim right here, this trim, it was chrome. I de-chromed it, painted it black. I have stickers on it. And then another thing down here, this is the one thing that I really like that's unique. It's the coffee can exhaust that I put on it. I have an exhaust that I drilled a hole into, about a big hole about that big. Stuck it on the actual exhaust, so it's like an exhaust tip now. And I spray painted it black, and whenever I get this thing up and running, oh, wait till you guys hear this. Hear what it sounds like. It sounds like a freaking LS twin turbo. It's insane. And then, of course, I painted the tow hook to match it. I have to repaint the tow hook up front red because it does not match the one back here. But we'll do that after I get all the parts and stuff, because I'm trying to prioritize with this car because I've not been doing a good job at that. So that's probably about the plan with this car, and that's how it's going to go. So, yeah. Just to give you guys a little idea of what the bug sounded like whenever it was running and stuff, I'll show you a little video right here, but it sounds freaking sick. Now, as I'm sure you already heard, this freaking car has the loudest freaking tick in the world whenever it's running. It's insane, and honestly, I already know what it was, and I fixed it already. It was the camshaft. The camshaft was not very tight to this, the flywheel right here that goes onto the timing belt, and that caused the timing belt to slip on ticks, which then caused the timing belt to snap and then throw it all out of time and stuff. Now, luckily, the Bug's motor is a non-interference motor, so that means that if the timing belt does fail, which it did, the valves are not going to meet the pistons. Nothing's going to be damaged inside of the actual engine. So, in theory, all I should have to do, buy a timing belt, throw the timing belt back on there, and then retime it. Now, on the other thing on that, I do need a new fuel injection rail. Whenever the belt snapped, it must have snapped the hoses off too, because on the hoses, they won't go back on because there's pieces of plastic stuck in there, and they snapped off right off the rail. So I'm getting new fuel injection rails and timing belt, and it might be a head gasket too, and I'll show you why I think it's a head gasket in the next video here. Yeah, so I don't think this is good. That's my radiator cap, and there's like a milky goo. Just, yeah, I definitely blew the head gasket. So that's great. Now, as you saw in that video there, you could see that in the oil cap there, it had like this mystery mustard. That's what I like to call it. And you know that you have a blown head gasket whenever it does that. That's like the main ways of finding out that you have a blown head gasket. And that's whenever all this coolant reservoir and all the hoses with all the coolant in it go into the motor here. And then they have coolant in it that cools down the motor. Well, instead of cooling down the motor, it uses it all, hence the thermostat thing. If I would have had a working thermostat, this wouldn't have happened. All that coolant gets mixed with the oil, and that oil gets really, really hot, and it overpowers the coolant. And then there's rubber gaskets, which is your head gasket, in between the bottom and the top end of your block. And the oil gets so freaking hot with the coolant, and the coolant just like supercharges it almost, and it just melts the rubber completely off, and then that gives you all the room for it to mix in with the pistons and all that stuff, and then eventually gets up to your valve cover with your oil cap where all the oil sits in. And that's a big problem, and it's a problem that it shouldn't affect the thing whenever it runs and stuff, but eventually you'll have to fix it. But I'm not going to fix it till later down the road, because I honestly, my main priority is just getting it back up and running again. But eventually we are going to be doing a full tear down all the way down to the head to replace the head gasket, so everything's good, ready to go, so this all does not happen again and I just am Gucci again. So that's the deal with this, and that's basically all the story time that is wrong with the bugs. So yeah, that's the blown Beetle for you. Now that's where I'm going to stop the video today. I got to keep making more content. I'm going to get back to you guys once I get all of my parts, and then we're going to start putting this thing back together. And once we get it put back together, oh, words are hard today. Once we get it put back together, we're going to be doing some cool shit to it, hence slamming it, new rims, slamming it, I already said. LEDs, that's a big one. I'm getting LEDs, new horn, whole bunch of stuff, and an actual professional window tint and window banner with the decals of the Volkswagen banner, all that stuff that you already saw. It's going to be wild. I hope you guys stick with me for the way, but you guys know how it goes here. Same as TikTok. Give me a like, give me a follow, and a comment if you can. I'm just going to keep making content and shit. So just keep it up, guys. Thanks for the support and everything. So, yeah.